where the Cowfoot lady used to live. If you were in Gomez that time, you know, back there going up to Ras Valley, and you had a shortcut. Anybody went to Joseph Gomez in here? Wow. We get one over there. You went to Joseph Gomez? Sorry? No, you went? Oh, you were a pickup mom. Okay, okay. That consider. You know about the Cowfoot lady? You don't know about no Cowfoot lady. Yes. Okay. So that place was a fun place for us. We used to have a lot of fun. And to have someone being shot and killed who murder is still unsolved, I have made it my business, and I want you all to join me in pushing the government here in the Virgin Islands to solve one of the most heinous crimes that we have seen in the Virgin Island history of a 14-year-old boy who was killed. This was the first time for, I think, on the front, maybe, I don't know. Edie, is it the case?
I'm not really familiar with that case. It happened before my office opened.
But has there been another 14-year-old who have been killed in the Virgin Islands? This is the first. No. And that's why, too, and when the governor comes tomorrow, too, as well, we have had this conversation many times before. Our call is that this is one of the cases that needs to be solved. And we want to do it. That's why that shirt right there, we should run every day in the park, 4 days a week. Justice for Aaron. We did a march here about 4 years ago. Is that 4 years ago, Ms. Hamilton? 4 years ago, we walked from Tutu Park Mall all the way down to Emancipation Garden. That was at the height of COVID too as well. But this is something that we want to get solved in the Virgin Islands, and we're gonna make sure that Aaron's name is not forgotten. But what are some of the local things that needs to be implemented to make the work that we're doing to create a safer Virgin Islands possible? What are some of the things that you need, and what are some of the best practices that you want to share with us? Then we go to Ms. Foy, and then we'll hear Andrea's story.
Somebody earlier used the term multi-prong. The multi-prong approach is critical to our work because there are so many organizations on the ground that are doing work but don't necessarily have a lot of resources to make it happen, and they can't sustain. So part of the governor's mandate with my office is to make sure that that as well as we can to help support some of the nonprofit organizations that are doing the work. Part of what my office does, or what I do, I'm on several different boards: homelessness board, reentry board, reentry housing board. I go to different schools. My staff goes to schools and camps, and we talk about choices, decisions, and consequences. It's not the gun, it's the choices that people make when they have a gun in their hand. And we talk about accountability. We talk about parenting skills and teaching parenting, working with at the jails with teaching men about and women about parenting while in jail, reuniting families. When I took this job, it was focused on reducing the homicide rate. But once we got into the work, we realized there's some other systemic issues that are going on in our communities that are causing it. And I don't want to say that because you live in a project that necessarily means that you have a right to be violent or not do the right thing. We certainly have to have accountability for what we do. But when there are people that feel disenfranchised and desperate and feel that their voices aren't heard, then we are doing a disservice. And as a government, I feel we have to collectively have an opportunity to give these folks resources that they can feel that the government's paying attention to them. And so when my office opens up and we started staffing up my staff, the outreach person, tries to do activities, strategies that show our young people that there is hope, that there's things they can do. And it's funny, I go before the Senate, and they used to beat me up, oh, what, you're having a talent show. How does that stop gun violence. Well, if I have a room here full of, 150 people, and there's 20 of them performing on stage, then that's a room that nobody's getting involved in violence. And the weeks up to that practice, up to that, before that event, those kids are engaged. And you got parents that are sitting in the audience. And I always say, there's nothing like looking at somebody's parents' eyes and the proud look on their face when their child is performing, doing majorettes or doing Rising Sun, Steel Pan, or doing Makujumbi. Activities and engagement of our young people is so critical. My mother kept me so busy, I probably needed a secretary. I was doing all kinds of stuff during the week, and I had no time to get involved in foolishness. And I understand that some parents, don't have the resources, or don't have the money, or don't have the time, don't have the way to transportation to get around sometimes. And that's something that we need to work on. How do we, and these organizations, how can we get them to have resources to help get more kids in their program? I go to the doctor there. She's sitting there taking notes. We go to her program and talk. Say the name of the Youth Arise. Youth Arise. So all these groups and organizations that provide services. The best way I think we can solve what we're doing is to make sure that we are cross-pollinating decision-making processes for our children. And one of our projects we did recently with my violence interrupter from St. Croix and St. Thomas is that we went around to all the turfs and have courageous conversations with the folks that are in those neighborhoods and in those communities, and talk about what's making it the way it is. Why are we, having this violence with each other? So if we can break it down and find out what's going on, what are the root causes, those are the issues that we try to hear from them. I've been in this work for 42 years, and I don't have the magic bullet. I don't know the answer. I really don't. But what I want to hear, and I try to influence my team to go out and get the answers from the young people that we deal with, that demographic, that 15 to 24 demographic, which is the most affected by gun violence, not only in the country but here in the Virgin Islands. And one thing I will say, which is kind of promising news, is that since 2020, we've had, hold on to your seats now, these are raw statistical numbers that the Senate's always banging me out for. 58% reduction in homicide rate in the territory since 2020. 58%. That's good work, and my office can't take all the credit for it because the police have been doing a good job, and I always got to say, my hat's off to the men and women in blue that are out there sacrificing and doing what they got to do. But they've shown more presence. We've had St. Croix had 2 Christmas festivals, and St. Thomas had its first carnival this year with no violence during the events. And a lot of that's because of the police department being out there, being right on the spot, being present. It's a lot of good work by a lot of good organizations, Health Department, Human Services. It takes all of us, and I can't say that enough. It takes all of us together. We have organizations, and we have to support each other. And I promised this young lady, Ms. Hamilton, that if she needs anything from our office, we're going to be there to support her and her events as much as we can, and just be there. And that's what it takes. I mean, it's a multi-pronged approach. There are multi-pronged problems, so it takes multi-pronged approach to get back at it. We have to be patient. Somebody else said, getting pastors and getting faith-based groups on board. I'm going to take this because I got to catch a plane. But when I got this job, I approached a minister or pastor, and I said, hey, we really want you to help us out and get your congregation on board for gun violence. And he looked at me and says, well, this is a political thing. You know, I don't want to be involved with you guys. It's a political thing. He's trying to get the governor elected. I was like, okay. But it's one step at a time. And I had to catch myself and go, okay, that's his narrative, right? And he's got a valid concern and a valid complaint. But let's keep pushing. Let's do it again. Now, after he sees the work, maybe he's in this room. And maybe next year I talk to him again and he might be on board. So if we have I have two pastors, I have three pastors that work for me. So I'm like, okay, I handle that faith-based thing. I got it going on my side. So, but we got to keep continuing. After this summit, my team has been mandated to make sure that we follow up, take critical notes of what's being said, what's going on here, and try to make sure that we improve our delivery of service. My office works under the pillars of justice, where transparency is one of the main pillars. And part of that thing is we're open. We want to know what's going on, as well as we telling you what we want to do. We want to hear what you need us to do. And our questions to you when you come to us should be, how can I help? How can I help? What can I do to help your organization? And I was sitting there listening to you. I was like, wait, I need to talk to her a little bit more, you know, because when we think about getting grants for even my office, there's also an ability to get sub-grants. And ironically, I approve grants through LEPC, the Law Enforcement Planning Commission. So there's money out there, and there's money out there for community work, for community violence intervention. There's a lot going on. So you know, having these summits allows us to share information, to bring it to the forefront, to make sure that people are rowing the boat down the river in the same direction. We got to get out of this, you know, silos of government and sandboxes of private industry or whatever. So that's my spin on that. I'm hoping everybody kind of gets it, and I hope I get it. You know, nobody's omnipotent. We have a lot to learn from each other, and the experiences that we share in our lives is what makes our whole situation better.
So the question was around how to get started. That's the question. How do we as community members start the process or expand what we're doing? And I would say one of the pastors earlier had mentioned being mission-driven, and I completely agree with that. So deciding what is your mission, what is it that you're trying to do? Because sometimes money will take you off track. You're saying, okay, we're gonna focus on gun violence, but wait a minute, there's some money over here to help the elephants in Africa. Like, what does that have to do with what you're doing? So staying mission focused is very important to keep you on track, because there's so much work that can happen that you start to get overwhelmed. And so sometimes people have a great idea and they start to get overwhelmed before they even implement it, and they're not exactly flexible or willing to pivot. So thinking about flexibility and thinking about, okay, I want to do this work in the community, or maybe I'm already doing the work and I want to expand the work. I want to do a specific thing in the community, and you have this vision in your head, and maybe God himself gave you the vision, and you see yourself having a building and a facility and all of these great things, and you're saying, well, I can't start until I have all of these resources in place. And what happens is you become in this endless loop of never starting and never making an impact. Because you're not going to start, typically, some people do, but typically you may not start with the building and with the full staff and with the full funding. And so if you think like, okay, well, I was given this vision or this task to do, or I have a heart to serve in this particular area to end violence in my community, to end gun violence, what can I do to help end gun violence in the territory? I don't have a lot of resources. So think about what your mission is and what can you extract from that you can begin doing with very little resources, just to show a track record. So can I go into maybe youth programs and talk to the youth about gun violence? Can I connect with programs like the gun violence prevention, volunteer for them, learn from another nonprofit? So just think about how you can start doing these programs and like break down your bigger vision into smaller chunks and just start to activate and start to do the work. You don't have to do everything at one time. And I think sometimes we think that, and we just need somebody to tell us that so that we can move forward and get out of the rut that we're in, or that cycle. I would also encourage you, especially doing work, not just in the Virgin Islands, but specifically I'm talking to the Virgin Islands, thinking about the work that you do and how you could do it in a culturally specific way to the territory. I see people all the time, I talk to people, they want to do work for the territory. They want to talk to kids in the territory, but yet they want to model their program exactly after programs in the States, even though they'll swear up and down that that's not what they're doing. But if you look at their program, that's what they're doing. So think about how can you actually connect with the community. You're from the community. Sometimes when you're of a community, you can't see what you're doing is culturally specific, or what you're doing is considered in a way, maybe I'm doing stuff, maybe, for example, maybe we make sure we have food at all of our meetings, or maybe we're talking, we could put down the ways that are culturally specific is we allow people to use the language that's comfortable for them and the dialect that's comfortable for them, and we understand that. So just thinking about the different things that you might do that are specific to the territory. This will, one, enable you to apply for culturally specific grants. Two, it will also help you to be more effective in the community that you serve. And three, eventually grow your organization to the point where now you could be potentially a person that is a nationally sought out speaker in regards to gun violence or whatever the issue of your mission is, where people will come to you like, okay, you're the expert of this in the territory in the U.S. Virgin Islands, so it can also grow your expertise in these areas. So that's some of the ways that you can activate. I just really want you to be encouraged to don't feel like you need to know everything right now, because sometimes we get intimidated, we're afraid to let people know our weaknesses, and especially to go to someone like my organization, UJIMA, the organization I work for, UJIMA, where we provide technical assistance and we're also a funder. People are afraid to come to us for help and for that technical assistance and that training because you want to appear that you know everything so you can get the funding, and not understand that we really are here to support you so that you can get strengthened to get to the point where you could qualify for not just the funding that we have, but even bigger grant programs. Am I going on too? Okay. UJIMA stands for Collective Work and Responsibility. That's what the word means in Kwanzaa, and I think that's an important thing for us to think about of our work in collective. We work in silos so much. We don't collaborate. We don't support other people. You're so busy, and exhausted from running your own organization that you can't say, okay, well, let me stop by. This organization is trying to have this event or this conference. Let me forward the flyer. Let me post it on social media. Let me attend. How can I support? There's so many ways that you could support other organizations and other people that are doing things that don't cost any money. And I ain't trying to preach. But in talking about how do we expand our capacity is what I was really, wanted to work with, to talk about. And it's just, it's one more preaching thing. It's important for our faith community to step up in these issues around domestic violence, sexual assault, gun violence, these hard issues, to speak up on the pulpit, to speak up about it in our youth groups, in our missions, in our auxiliaries, and not just relegate these like, okay, well, the gun violence conversation is just, we'll just talk to youth about that. Domestic violence and sexual assault, that's for the women's ministry. These areas of violence affect our whole ministry, the whole self. Our churches say we minister to the whole body. Everybody's ministry says that. Let's be about it. Okay, thank you.
everyone. Is it on? Yeah, it is. My name is Andrea Hamilton. On July 9th of 2020, at 1:10, I got a call to get to the hospital. Aaron was shot. Aaron is my 14-year-old son that was murdered while working with his family, cleaning up a project where everyone was just throwing trash. And whomever came and shot him. He made it to the hospital alive, but he never made it to the emergency room for surgery. Not emergency room, operating room for surgery. He died in the emergency room when they brought him in. Aaron was a very vibrant young man from birth, actually. When I decided, my name is Andrea, so I decided that his name has to have an A. I also decided that it had to be biblical, so I went looking for a name to give him, and I came across Aaron, and the meaning of it was oldest brother to Moses, eloquent speaker, and first priest of the Israelites. And I was like, okay, that's his name. And I ingrained it in him as to who he is and what he needs to be. And, forgetting at times that he was a kid, a child, and he's going to do what children do, which is play. And it's not until after his death I realized that he was living up to his name. I say that because this year would have been his senior year in high school. He would have graduated in May, and his class never forgot who he was because of what he has done or did for them. They carried him throughout the 4 years of high school with them and never forgotten him. To this day, I haven't heard anything from Virgin Islands Police Department in regards to his murder. It's still unsolved, pardon my nerves, and it saddens my heart, but I don't let it stop me. Justice for Aaron doesn't look in finding the person that did it, because it's not going to bring him back. Justice in my eyes is preventing it from happening to someone else. And that was my purpose of starting his foundation, the Aaron Nicholas Hamilton Ashby Foundation, in which one of my goals is to have, and I know it might sound a little weird coming from a woman, but an all-male mentorship program. And I think I have spoken to Pastor Monrose about it. And for me, as a woman looking in, and as a mother, I saw the lack of male figures in our community. We give praises to where it's due to our women, but we also need to give praise to our men to lift them up, so that they in return can lift our young men up, and that they have someone to look up to. For me, looking in, I don't see it. And that's why it is one of my mission under his foundation. And I have spoken to several people about it, spoken to women. It was like, oh, you're going to remove the women. It's not removing you. It's knowing, please don't give me any, knowing our place in that position. We raise them as mothers. One of the conversations that I've had with Aaron shortly before he was murdered is that this day, 6 years ago, he lost his dad. And he had been spending a lot of time with his uncle, his father's brother. And they were in conversation about him moving with them. And the decision was made that same year. It was March of 2020 for him to go and live with his uncle, because his desire was to become an attorney. And one of the comments in that conversation with Aaron was that, Mom, you can't teach me how to be a man. And it was at that moment I realized that I needed to let go of him so that he can become what he needs to be. And that's the thing that we mothers do. We tend to hold on to our boys tightly and not realize that we have to let them go so that they can be amongst likeness, another male, to teach them what they need to know. And it's not that they will forget you. And it took me a while to realize how much my son loved me and admired me and appreciated me for the things that I did for him. For me to realize it's not that he wanted just to leave, but he needed to move. He needed to continue growing in his life. And Under his foundation, we also, Aaron was a steel pan player. He played with 3 different steel pan throughout his 14 years. And what I do to keep his name and his memory alive is every year I try to donate steel pan sticks to all the seniors every year that's graduating, just to keep his name out in the community and to have his peers remember who he was and, you know, as a person and what happened to him and how do we go about preventing it from happening again.
Thank you for sharing that. Could you, thank you. Just give us the experience about the intentionality. I don't want to bring it up, but it's very powerful in terms of what you just said about how you structured the funeral service for Aaron.
Oh, yes. Let me go back a bit. In 2004, I used to live in New York. In 2004, I came home on vacation, found a job, and never went back. In doing so, I noticed that, again, the lack of positive male in our community. And I always used to say at the age of 25, if we have any young men that live past 25, make it to 25, they're old, because they don't normally live past 25. They're murdered at that point or before. So for me, it was very important at his funeral that I had no female on the pulpit the day of his funeral. Everything was done by all male, and I was intentional about it. The Bible verses were read by all his male cousins. Pastor Monroe was one of the pastors that officiated his funeral, and the other pastor of the church was there. I was very, very intentional because I wanted to take that opportunity to shine light on the male, the positive male in the community. His steel pan teacher was there. His music teacher sang a song. The male instructors from his steel pan played his favorite gospel song. It was for me, and for me, I don't know about anyone else that day, but everyone knew what my intentions were. It was for me, that was the beginning of my mentorship program.
And so what would be, so all of the, well, some guests, but some from the Virgin Islands say, we're trying to come up with a comprehensive, and we're using everything that we hear to decide how we want to move forward in the VA. You know, crime has tapered off, which is a good thing for us. But senseless gun violence, of course, still raises ugly head. Even over the last 2 weeks, we see in St. Croix and St. Thomas. So what would you say if you had the final say on all of the radio stations, everyone shut down and they put you on the microphone and everyone have to listen? If they don't listen, they're not going to get any food. What would you say would be, what would be needed here? What is your message to, what would be your message? What would be your message? Like, what is it in closing?
What I would love to see would be more smaller advocates being activated to go out into their own neighborhoods, to talk to their neighbors, to end the violence, to be able to do work. You know, you don't have to quit your job, you just start doing the work. That's what I would love to see.
Okay.
For me, it would be the October following his death, we did a Reclaiming Our Village march. And for me, that is reclaiming your village, our village. Growing up, I'm not sure, being that you on the countryside in school, we were in town, we met at Emancipation Garden. Everything I do right now is with purpose. So when we had the march to Emancipation Garden, it's where most children gather to wait for their parents while, you know, after school. And that was one of the reasons.
I think we had Four Wings Plaza back then. Maybe,
Yeah.
right?
For us in town, it was Emancipation Garden, where you met up with your friends. And there was there was barely, if any, adult supervision, but you as a parent felt safe with your child being there. And that's the reason why when we had the march, I requested that we end it there for everyone to feel, to bring you back to that safe space. For me to help, it's not gonna take just one person or one group. It has to take the collective of the entire community. The elected officials, the police department, the health department, the people of the community, from the governor right down to the young child. Also, if we start, I think my sister husband said it best in the video that was posted, if you start with the child from young and instill certain values in him, and as he grows, it increases, that when they go out on their own, they will be less to become that violent person with a gun in their hand.
And I think that's a positive message. Thank you for that. You have any questions in the audience? You have a comment? Yeah. You have to be a pastor to say that. You have a comment. Stand up so we can hear you, because we...
idea to help. So that is one of the things we have to bypass as ministers of the gospel, as people in the community. Reach out to them, but because of not them doing it, I've seen it, they're not supporting it. So that is what we have to bypass ourselves so we can help the community.
Thank you for that question. Sorry, statement. All right. Well, one more question.
Okay. This is more of going to your statement. On our team, I'm the outreach coordinator that goes into the schools and talk to the children. And the one thing we try to instill is the CDC, choices, decisions, and consequences. But what we learned, we started off in high school. The principal would pull us to the side and say, hey, you need to go to the middle school before they get to the high school, because these children are bad when they get here. So when we went to middle school, the middle school principal pulled us to the side and said, they ain't the problem. You need to go to the grammar school. And that's where it starts.
And what did the grammar school say?
The grammar school, the grammar school principal, the grammar school principal, their problem is they have, in the grammar school here, children get bused from all sections of the island. So now they have children from the Bavoni projects coming with children from this part of town, this part of town. So they're warring all the way down in grammar school. So these are some of the issues that we face in the school system. So I concur with what you're saying, and we support everything that you guys are doing.
Can I just make a comment towards that? You started out in high school and you go all the way to grammar school, and then the grammar school tells you need to go into the home, which is true. We need to get into the home because it's not everyone. A parent can only do as much as she or he knows how to do, especially if you yourself did not receive proper guidance or seen it happen. You won't know what to do. And we also, while you're working with the child, you cannot not work with the parents. You teach the child in school one thing, but when the child gets at home, it's something totally different. You have to bring the two together. You have to teach both the child and the parent and bring them together so that they're moving in unison. Because if you don't do that, it's not going to happen.
Thank you for that. All right. Quickly, in the back, you know we can't really see this, like being straight to us.
Thank you. Good evening to all. I think something that should be instilled in the children from very young is start posting the 1-800 Crime Stoppers number. from in the classroom, have them put it in their school books, have it at home. One of the reasons why I say that is that people are fearful of calling into the local police station to say who did what they saw, what happened, and because they're afraid of retaliation, they're afraid of their name getting back to whoever committed the crime, because everybody is connected to somebody, the police, you name it, everybody is connected. So by the time I finish make that report, it's not even getting to the paper for me to get a copy of the report I made before whoever I'm making the report about knows about it, And I don't think that's just local, So what I'm saying is, you see something, they say, if you see something, say something. I say, if you see something, call the 800 number. That way it filters. Nobody here knows who you called, who you called about, what the crime was about, but it gets rerouted. And it gets to by the time it gets to the local office to make the connections, you're completely out of the loop. So a lot of people are afraid to call in and say what they see and what they know because they're afraid of retaliation. So I'm like, post the 800 number, 1-800-CRIME, from the schools to their copybooks, have them write it down so that way they feel safe, they can call, and nobody on island knows who called in that crime.
Okay. So, we have to move, but I will say to you in response to that is that is trauma. That's traumatizing a young generation to always be on the lookout for crime. And that is the collective trauma that we all face by this violence that we see. Because as a child, I didn't have to try to find a 1-800 number. I was looking for a go-kart, taking the cart from Pueblo, breaking them up and doing these go-kart thing with the wood,
right on the road,
So that in of itself, for all of us, that's trauma. So we are raising up a generation that is traumatized by the world that we're living in. I'm not saying not to do that, that'll be good for adults, but children have to find a way to grow up still in this crazy world. So I just wanted to say that, but I understand that. I only have one more. We have to you have a question? A question. Thank you so much for that, though. And then we are out of time.
It was just a question to Aaron's mom. I know you said it's been 6 years now. And my question, 4 years, it's been 4 years now. So I just want to ask you, what type of support and what type of help are you getting right now to get through what you're dealing with? None. And what can we do as a territory? And what can we? Yeah. What type of support? What type of help are you getting now to walk you through what you had to deal with 4 years ago?
Actually, this morning for the last 4 years, I've been in therapy. I actually had a session this morning, and I don't hide, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here sitting today with you. I'm telling you, I would probably have lost my mind and grieving for my child, but I realized I still have one more child. I still have a child to live for. I have an older daughter, and also I had to find something that brings me comfort, that made me feel good and grounded, and that was sewing. Everyone has that. I know there's another friend of mine who lost her son. Her son was murdered by his best friend, I think last year. For her, she chose shopping. So you're gonna find that niche, that one thing that makes you not think about what you're going through, that brings you comfort. But as far as outside of that, if I'm getting any help or anything, or hearing anything, no, I'm not. VIPD, no one has touched base. And that's also another thing. I'm sorry, I know we're out for time, but if it's one thing that has to happen, in the event that it does happen again, is that we have to support that mother or that parent.
Right.
I didn't get that support when that happened. And that's something I don't want another mother to have to go through. It's sad, it's hurtful.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's give her a round of applause, but let's pray. Let's pray for her and some others as well. Tomorrow, she'll be replaced, we make a switcheroo. We have another survivor too as well, not only from States, but also from St. Croix who will be here, and so we'll hear that. But thank you all so much. We're going to... Warriors, okay. Thank you. We are going to thank them for all of the work that they're going to do. And thank those of you who are here at the conference just coming to join us in. Don't forget tomorrow, we could have we'll have, why don't we just, let's do a quick search. Bobby, would you come and then talk about the display, and then we'll have Pastor Julie Reimer is going to come, and we have a special announcement.
This one on? Okay. Thank you, Pastor Monrose, and thank you everyone for having me here. My name is Bobby Watson, and I am a policy advocate at Texas Impact. I'm out here from Austin, Texas, where Texas Impact is. We are a interfaith, we are the oldest interfaith policy and advocacy org in Texas. And we have been working for over 50 years on a variety of issues. And I'm here to talk about a specific project we're doing called Vidas Robadas, or Stolen Lives, which is what Vidas Robadas means in Spanish. This is a project we started about a year ago as a way to galvanize the faith community to work on gun violence prevention, reduction, and eventually its end. And so I want to talk about what these shirts are and what they mean. Every one of these shirts behind me are a citizen, a neighbor of mine from Austin, Texas, who has died from gun violence. The multicolor shirts, those are homicide victims, and on them we write their name, the age they were when they died, and the date of death. The white shirts are suicide victims who, out of more privacy, we don't name. Instead, we write another life stolen, or otra vida robada, and below that we put the suicide lifeline number, the national number, which is 988, which is a number that if you are in crisis and you need a moment or someone to talk to, that is a resource. And we want to make sure that resource is out there. And we talk about both of these victims. We talk about all types of gun violence victims because we have to remember everyone that we've lost when we're dealing with gun violence. We put these installations up at anywhere that's willing, but most often at congregations because one, that is who we are, and like the pastors talked about earlier, Texas Impact firmly believes that it is the faith community's role to work towards bringing the beloved community here, now in our communities. We also do it because we know faith communities are at the forefront of this issue. When we were just talking about with Andrea, she doesn't have support, but Pastor Monrose was there. The faith community leaders, they are the ones who are giving support to their people who are going through this trauma. So we are there, we put these installations as a way for these communities to help process this grief, to highlight those that they lost, and unfortunately to remember the names of all of the cold cases that have gone unsolved. We also work with a diverse community, and so we also work with congregations that need to know about this, who don't know about the 4,113 lives in Harris County who died from 2018 to 2023, so that they know that there is responsibility to their neighbors, to bring resources to their partners, to their other faith community members, to do the work that they are doing and to work to prevent more gun deaths. As a part of this, we do a multi-pronged approach, which is the word of the day, the phrase of the day, I think, and I think it's the right approach, where with this project, we are trying to do numerous things in order to reduce gun violence. One of that is community building, and that is building these bridges across faith lines, across denominations, across communities, between advocates, educators, universities, faith community members, and public officials, so that we collectively can work on reducing gun violence. With that, we also bring real action to these initiatives. We highlight what is going on in the community and do city initiatives. In San Antonio, where we have made the full 2,700 shirts for all of those victims in San Antonio who died from 2018 and 2023. Every time we have an installation, we distribute handgun locks to reduce gun thefts in cars so those guns don't get used in crimes, and gun safes so that children and those who are struggling don't get access to those firearms and make a serious mistake. Other initiatives like that, we also do a major push that is hard in Texas, but we will keep doing until it is done, is we work on legislation. Because we know that the gun violence in Texas, our legislators are not there and supporting our people. They're not giving resources to the community violence interventionists, to the community violence interrupters. They're also not addressing the fact that Texas is the biggest exporter of guns into crimes and the illegal black market for guns. Second to Florida, and Florida's guns are the ones that come to the Caribbean, who come to places like St. Thomas. So it is our responsibility to not just help reduce gun violence in our own state, but to do so as we help our neighbors and the community around us. Because no state in the United States, no territory is going to be safe until all of us address gun violence. Thank you. So, yes, thank you all again. This is the work that we're trying to do here in Texas. And I know that some of you are in Texas, like Pastor Tatum, who I got after that talk and said, we're going to work together. And he said, yes, sir. And then the rest of y'all, if you're not in Texas, this project is not ours. This is what we're doing, but it's not our project. We can't take it outside of Texas because we're a small nonprofit. But we want it to be a resource and a tool for anyone to use to highlight the losses that they have experienced. So if you are in a place and you want to do something similar, come talk to us and we will tell you everything that we know, which we're learning as we go too, but we'll tell you what we know so that you can do it here, so that collectively, together, we can all work to reduce gun violence and remember those that we have lost. Thank you guys, that's all I got.
Thank you, you got a lot. So thank you so much, Bobby Watson. Really important, you know, Bobby came down here when I met him in Houston about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at a conference, and told him I was coming, you know, coming home to the Virgin Islands. He said, I'm coming. He booked his ticket to get here. So Bobby is here. Bobby, like 5 people asked me your age and if you're married. So I don't know what's going on. But you don't respond to that right now because we take no responsibility. This is the Virgin Islands, so we're not going to say anything further. One of the things that Bobby wants to do as well, as he said to you before, as we were trying to find the numbers for the Virgin Islands and the names, which was difficult for him, and I didn't have that information, but I think that would be a good thing for some organization in the Virgin Islands, or a church or organization, nonprofit, to work with them to put the names, and that's why we put Aaron's shirt in the middle of it, to represent all of those folks. And this is a real problem. That's why we're here. I mean, you know, he would have loved to be on the beach, well, with good weather today, but he's here with us, and that's important, right? And this is the first of many, and so I want to thank him and the others who saw the vision and the need to be here with us to join. Well, the last thing that we're going to do today is very important for us too as well. Clergy for Safe Cities, under the banner of the 67 Precinct Clergy Council, the God Squad, in the year of George Floyd, some of George Floyd, we came together to decide what we will do as clergy around the country. And one of the things was we are going to support clergy members all over. And over the past couple of years, our good friend, family friend for a long time, Pastor Julie Reimer on the island of St. Croix, have been working to do work with mothers and fathers and children who have lost their loved ones to gun violence. She has started a monthly, well, you come and tell them. But we want to thank her. And we are going to sign our first MOU for Clergy for Safe Cities here in the Virgin Islands, and Pastor Julie Reimer in the St. Croix area will be our chapter president, right? The president of the 67 precinct is going to come forward. We're going to go, we're official now. Let's go over here. We're going to sign that. You have pens to give with everyone for every letter that you sign? Okay. We're going to sign, and you're going to read what it is, and you tell them what you do. And not everything.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Go ahead.
Today, this feels like a marriage. I've been married to Pastor Gill for a very long time. And now it seems like he got me for good, but I'm really happy to be a part of this. It took some, thinking, praying, but I believe that this is where God wants us to be and to go. We've been working through the COVID and through, like I said, for the audience of one, many times to be able to bring inspiration to our mothers and families of gun violence, giving them the opportunity to have faith and hope throughout their loss. We've been given the opportunities to do funerals when there were nobody to church them, and so I volunteer most of the times to do so. And our hearts are open up because we understand in our very own church and congregation, we have like 5 of them, and I guess tomorrow you hear one that's very close to our hearts. So today I am really honored to be given the opportunity to serve God in that capacity with our church family, Twigs Ministry Worship Center. And my husband, Bishop Reimer, is not there, but I have even turned down my call back to work to be able to do this for the Lord full time. Wow. So it is my honor to be here today to inspire, bring hope to families, especially the women of mothers of gun violence. God bless and thank you.
God bless you. Thank you. Oh.
Check 1, 2. Thank you so much, and this is really historic as we launch the chapter in St. Croix. The fundamental to the work that we do with the 6th and the Precinct Clergy Council God Squad is supporting those families, those unsung heroes who we call them survivors, but we have turned the shift to the name now to warriors, because they now become our champions, championing the cause for their loved ones and championing the cause for the community so that there is not another child who lose their life to senseless gun violence. And so we appreciate you for taking on this mantle here in St. Croix, and you have the full support and commitment of the God Squad in Brooklyn, New York, to ensure that you execute your task. It's unfortunate. We wish that we never had this, that your job was otherwise. But nevertheless, it's a very crucial part in the healing process. And as St. Croix also experienced that healing from gun violence, that through your church and through your leadership will serve as a conduit to be a support to families who will be better off for having you being a part of their journey. So thank you so much, and we look forward to the continued work in St. Croix as we expand the work for Clergy for Safe Cities. Thank you.
Where do we sign? I seen a lot of blanks. Turn. All right. Look. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank God for the first signed copy of Clergy for Safe Cities, where we are supporting local faith leaders, not only in St. Croix, but hopefully on St. Thomas soon. We have chapters in 6 cities, and Reverend Tatum is also our representative in Fort Worth, Texas, who is here with us today. Thank you so much, Pastor Julie, and we thank you so much for everything. Let's shake on this. Your love and support, amen. All right, so our chapters, one of the things that we're working on, especially nationally, is to be able to advocate for any faith-based group to receive federal funding and funding. So we are praying, and we hopefully, by God's grace, we get property and you're able to build and mothers and family who have lost their children to gun violence, and young boys who need a place to develop and to grow, that they will find a place and a shelter in your ministry. And we believe that with all our hearts. So keep on working, keep on going, and God bless you. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. So that's good news. We are going to be closing now. It is it's 10 minutes to 4 o'clock. We tell you all that we like to run on time. I can't even see. We want to run on time because we have 2 conferences at the same time. I want to announce to you that tonight at 7 p.m. Is our family conference starting right here at 7 p.m. There'll be music, there'll be worship. There'll be 2 powerful speakers tonight who will say, if you were here last night, did you hear some great speaking last night? Bishop Tikali from Nigeria, he was here last night, and it was amazing, followed by our resident theologian, Israel Steinmetz, who was here. Was he amazing too as well? Real powerful word on the current condition of politics and us being the kingdom of God. But tonight, God's willing, let me tell you who's going to be on tonight. Tonight, we are going to have Pastor Mark Gordon, who will be speaking on the role of the modern church in the life of the believer. We're going to have Pastor Julie Reimer also speaking, and then we'll be closing out with Pastor Charles Galbraith, who will be talking about the case for Christian involvement in advocacy. So that's tonight, amen? We start at 7, and we're definitely going to end on time. Tomorrow, God's willing, from 12 to 1, our hope and our desire, we want all of you to be here. Our hope and our desire, of course, is to hear from the governor, the lieutenant governor, and also the assistant attorney general tomorrow morning from 12 to 1. So we're going to ask about 12:30, all of our breakout sessions, young people will be in this room to hear the governor address us, the lieutenant governor also too as well. And we are really, again, working very hard to push the envelope to have a safer U.S. Virgin Islands and the Caribbean. And then on Friday, don't forget that every 10 o'clock in the morning, we have devotion from 10 to 10:30 is the time that we start our day off. Tomorrow is our free day and also T-shirt day as well. So if you're here at the conference, you need to be in your T-shirt tomorrow, already won. Tomorrow, we are also, it's a free day. That means that after the morning session, you are free to either go on the tour. Please sign up today at the registration desk if you want to go on the island tour. The first time on the island, you want to see beautiful St. Thomas. We want you to go there. Also, too, as well, put a note in to let the USVI Tourism Board know that we have lots of people who is traveling and purchasing hotel rooms, right? So we thank you all for supporting us on the island with your resources, and please do come back again. And anything that you need that you didn't get and you can't find and you don't have the money to buy, I will surely get it for you. Not in this life, but the life to come. All right. So some of you who don't know what Whopper mean, in the beginning, Pastor Hines said Whopper is a burger. We want to leave you with something called a tart. You know what a tart is, right? And we're supposed to have some. I want to make sure that we give some of you folks who don't know what that is before you leave as a gift from the Virgin Islands, along with some cherry stew. You know what cherry stew is? I'm picking on Pastor Hines. Pastor Hines, come on. You're from Jamaica. You know what cherry stew is? You know cherry stew. Okay. And so we want to do that as well. All right. So don't forget you will break. Again, tonight, 7 o'clock, we start our main service. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. is our devotion. And then at 12 o'clock tomorrow, we start on our last day. Tomorrow is going to be a fuller day. More individuals are going to be coming. We have tomorrow 3 great presenters who are here with us. They are definitely different. Oh, I have it here. We're going to have hailing from the beautiful island, the big island, the twin city of St. Croix. We have Mrs. Marcia Jagrup Dekai, who is going to be presenting. Coming all the way from St. Croix, okay. And Sherman Brown, who is from St. John, is stuck in Jamaica in the storm. So he was supposed to make his way here. So we're praying that Sherman make it. If he don't make it tomorrow, hopefully he can get here on Saturday. On Saturday, we're going to be here for service all day from 10 to 5. So hopefully we can get him somehow at least to say hello. Sherman Brown is going to be running our 100 Men initiative that we were supposed to make the announcement tomorrow, announcing that we are recruiting 100 men in the Virgin Islands, 100 men to help mentor 100 young boys. But Sherman is supposed to make the announcement. We are trusting that he can make it. And then also to Pastor Tim Jones is going to be talking about 100 Men initiative too as well for the church as well. Is Dr. Tim Jones here? He just flew in, but he's going to be here and he's speaking tomorrow, I think it is. You don't want to miss. Very prolific speakers, all millennials, and they have really good, powerful things to say to us. And then our executive director of the God Squad, Pastor Hines, is going to be speaking about the unseen wounds, and that's what we're going to talk about. What you don't realize, because Andrea was saying that everyone in the Virgin Islands, I keep on saying it, everyone in the Virgin Islands should know that a 14-year-old was shot and killed and should have come to your aid. It shouldn't have taken people who was outside of the territory to push the local government to solve your crime. So we have to do more here to make sure that we give parents the support, because your son being 14 years old should have never been shot and killed at a place where people, you know, grew up and so many memories, we have so much memories. And so our prayers are with you, and we trust and pray that you said your justice is that you don't want it to happen to someone else, and I'm fine with what you want. But we hoping and praying that let God has the way in this situation, and whatever we could do to help and support you, we will definitely do so. All right, so don't forget the schedule again. What's the schedule tonight? What time? 7 o'clock tonight. I still didn't get who are the speakers tonight. Oh, yeah, I did say it tonight. Thursday morning, Friday morning, our devotion on Friday is with Minister Francis Dekai, and then the lunch tour, we should do a community outreach tomorrow. We'll get the location where we're going to give our food. And then on Saturday, we have Dr. Jones. We have attorney Rosalind Morel with us. You have Elena Ellie, who is a guest artist, musician, who's going to be with us at 11 o'clock for worship, and then at 4 p.m. again for a mini concert. So you can join us here as well on Saturday. And then Bishop Tikali from Nigeria will also be with us. Levi Dekai, very prominent business individual that you don't know of. Is he here? But he's here. But Levi has one of a great contract at Sugar Bay. He's a young man, and he's here, and he's going to be speaking about leading in times of uncertainty. We have Dr. Devon Blackwood, who is here with us too as well, and Marissa Jagrup, and we have Pastor Steve again from Kenya, who was our speaker this morning. He'll be with us, and then we'll close out our time together here on the island on Sunday as we bid all of you farewell. We are so sad to see you all go. But Sunday is too far. Let's not talk about leaving now. It's too early. God bless you all. Thank you all so much. And we will see you all again at 7 p.m. Be safe, everybody, and God bless you all. It is now 3:58, and we have end officially before time.